Hey there, thanks for tuning in. If you want to keep up with the latest updates and in-depth coverage, make sure to follow S News so you don't miss this or any of our future videos. And it really helps us out if you subscribe, like, and drop a comment below.
The Yemeni Armed Forces Missile Unit carried out a special military operation targeting Al-Lad Airport in the occupied Jaffa area, using a hypersonic ballistic missile called Palestine II. The operation successfully hit its target.
That's the latest on the missile strike.
Yemen's leadership reaffirmed its support for Gaza until victory and for Palestine until liberation, stating they will continue operations until the aggression against Gaza stops and the blockade is lifted.
Yemen's stance remains unwavering.
Washington and Riyadh are negotiating with the Houthis over the Gaza situation, while Houthi missiles have been seen flying over Tel Aviv.
The truce agreement between Sana'a and Washington is collapsing.
France has announced it will withdraw its forces from Bab al-Mandab, and internal unrest is shaking Tel Aviv, threatening Netanyahu's government.
Meanwhile, Netanyahu has announced plans for a full occupation of Gaza with a green light from Donald Trump, but the Israeli military is warning against the risk of a guerrilla war trap.
Britain has backtracked on recognizing a Palestinian state, while Colombia has criticized major world powers over the Gaza crisis.
Moscow has warned Iran of an imminent United States-Israeli attack, prompting Tehran to take preemptive steps in preparation for war.
Iran has barred the International Atomic Energy Agency from inspecting its nuclear facilities.
Trump has issued a final warning to Moscow, offering a face-saving deal for Russia just days before the deadline.
But Putin ignored it, and instead, he revealed a new weapon that he claims will counter any U.S. recklessness.
Trump has also renewed threats toward India over its ties with Russia.
Meanwhile, Britain has questioned his mental fitness.
Behind the scenes, Washington is still trying to contain the Yemeni escalation in the Red Sea through diplomacy, after exhausting military options.
According to Reuters, the Israeli military reported detecting a Yemeni hypersonic missile over Tel Aviv, but later claimed it was intercepted. Sky News reported that the U.S. and Saudi Arabia have reopened negotiations with the Houthis, with Oman mediating.
The talks reportedly focus on 3 points: reducing Red Sea tensions, integrating Yemeni banks into new economic arrangements, and lifting legal sanctions on the son of former Yemeni President Ali Abdullah Saleh, in exchange for Houthi acceptance. Sources say Sana'a agreed, but only if the Gaza war ends and the blockade is lifted first, amid US-Saudi fears that Houthi attacks could expand to target Arab and Western ships.
Saudi Arabia's national shipping company announced a 44% drop in profits due to Yemeni attacks on ships heading to Israeli ports. Yemen is apparently entering a new phase of operations, issuing warnings to foreign ships in the Red Sea.
Danish shipping giant Maersk has also raised emergency surcharges, citing maritime congestion, rising costs, and continued escalation in the Red Sea, Arabian Sea, and Gulf of Aden.
In a notable development, the U.S. aircraft carrier Carl Vinson has returned to Pearl Harbor, Hawaii after more than 2 months in the Red Sea.
The U.S. is considering building a military base in Berbera, Somalia, to make up for its absence in the Red Sea, which could potentially collapse the ceasefire deal with the Houthis.
French newspaper Le Figaro revealed that the French Navy frigate FS Languedoc has withdrawn from the Red Sea due to, well, a high level of threat. Its commander admitted they hadn't expected such intense violence, indirectly acknowledging the severity of clashes with the Houthis.
A leaked document shows that the U.S. team met with directors of commercial banks in the UAE and Saudi-backed Aden government, threatening sanctions if they didn't comply with U.S. Treasury orders.
Yeah, that's a pretty direct way to put financial pressure on those banks.
Shifting to the Palestinian front, Israel's Channel 12 reported that Netanyahu will convene the Security Cabinet to push the army toward achieving the war's goals, insisting that full occupation of Gaza is the only option.
Sources say Netanyahu has already decided on a full invasion despite sharp disagreements with the army. Israeli Chief of Staff Eyal Zamir warned that a large-scale operation could endanger hostages' lives and long-term deployment in Gaza could threaten Israeli forces.
Netanyahu, however, insists on a military solution, accusing the Palestinian group of trying to break Tel Aviv's resolve by releasing hostage videos and vowing to defeat them and recover the captives.
Israeli media say Trump has given Netanyahu the green light for a full military escalation in Gaza. The Israeli Chief of Staff cancelled a planned trip to Washington after ceasefire talks collapsed.
The situation, just keeps getting more complicated by the day.
On the humanitarian side, the International Committee of the Red Cross responded to Netanyahu's call to protect Israeli hostages by saying they cannot access them without a ceasefire and security guarantees for aid workers, urging an immediate agreement to end the crisis.
Internationally, the United Kingdom Prime Minister's office reiterated that recognition of a Palestinian state is a right that belongs solely to the Palestinian people, stressing the need to disarm the Palestinian movement and release the hostages.
Colombian President Gustavo Petro said Gaza is now a testing ground for the major global powers.
To show how it would deal with any rebellion worldwide, a warning was issued that this power plans to bomb everyone eventually.
From Gaza's situation, we move to Iran's state of emergency.
Israeli Channel 14 reported that Russian diplomats in Tehran had delivered a warning to Iran about the possibility of a joint United States-Israeli strike on Iranian territory without prior notice.
In response, Iran announced the formation of a National Defense Council headed by the president, with senior military and government officials as members, to boost readiness against any potential attack.
According to Iranian state TV, the council will set defense policies and speed up decision-making during crises, a step reminiscent of Iran's coordinated defense efforts during the 1980s war with Iraq.
Politically, the head of Iran's Parliamentary National Security Committee, Ebrahim Azizi, said the upcoming visit by the International Atomic Energy Agency delegation will be limited to technical talks only. He stressed that parliamentary laws completely forbid granting the agency any access or inspection rights inside nuclear facilities. Iran's foreign ministry spokesman also emphasized that ongoing negotiations with European countries are limited to the nuclear file only, and that Iran's defense capabilities are not up for discussion.
Now to the Russia-Ukraine war. The final warning. Just a few days remain until the end of the 10-day deadline set by Donald Trump for Vladimir Putin to end the war in Ukraine.
Washington is attempting a diplomatic push to avoid direct confrontation with Moscow. The Kremlin said a visit by U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff to Moscow is still expected, though no date has been set. And U.S. officials hinted it could be a last chance before America imposes more sanctions on countries trading in Russian energy.
Despite tensions, the Kremlin described previous meetings with U.S. officials as good and constructive, and confirmed that Witkoff's visit aims to resolve the Ukraine conflict and normalize ties with Washington. The visit is expected to discuss renewing calm, especially as the deadline nears, with talk of a possible aerial truce halting mutual drone strikes, a face-saving option before the August 8th expiration date.
Meanwhile, Russia stressed it will respond immediately if it confirms U.S. plans to deploy medium or short-range missiles in Europe, following Washington's withdrawal from the Intermediate-Range Nuclear Forces Treaty under the Trump administration. President Vladimir Putin recently announced the start of mass production of the Hypersonic missile, claiming no air defenses can stop it.
Separately, tensions between the U.S. and India have grown over India's cooperation with Russia. Trump threatened steep increases in tariffs on India, accusing it of buying large amounts of Russian oil and reselling much of it on the open market at higher prices.
On his Truth Social platform, Trump wrote that India is not only purchasing massive quantities of Russian oil, but is also profiting by reselling it at inflated prices, and he vowed to raise tariffs India pays to the U.S. significantly.
The British newspaper The Guardian reported growing concerns among mental health experts about Trump's mental state after unusual behavior was noticed in interviews and public statements during his election campaign. The paper said Trump has shown clear changes in his speech style for over a year, appearing mentally scattered and unable to deliver coherent narratives, fueling fears of declining cognitive abilities.
Finally, thank you so much for listening and sticking with us until the end. We really appreciate your support. Don't forget to follow S News for more updates and watch our future videos. And please subscribe, like, and comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts.